What's up, folks, man? Nick Battle, aka Nino's Corner, here with my boys Ty and Chris with a K. Today with the SEC Connect, folks, we're going to talk about the surprise teams. Who do we think is going to be some surprise teams for 2023? What's
Nick,
going on, man? What's going on?
Nick. Okay,
Yeah,
let's get the people what they really want to know.
what's
Okay,
that?
Ty, I need you to moderate this. Okay, Nick, look at me. Look
Yeah,
at me, Nick. Okay, let's get to the business. All right.
get
With
it.
no further ado, all right, where is Malik? All right, front
Hurt.
and center. Where is Malik?
He's
He's
hurt.
gone. He's done. I told you from the start he would never play a snap at Texas, and you doubted me. I told you that.
I never
Okay?
refused you.
You thought I was
Hey,
going to
I
let you
can't-
slip and slide with that, and I told you straight up he will never play a snap here. He's going to go to Arizona State. He's going to ball out over there for the Sun Devils, and you
Uh-huh.
guys are going to be stuck with these two bums, Mullet Boy and the Manning Boy. There you go.
Yeah, you guys got a
All I had
bum
to
and
say.
Dylan
Go
Gabriel.
ahead. I'm done.
You guys got a bum and Dylan Gabriel over there for.
That's fine. That is fine. That is fine.
You wish you had a mullet boy. Anyways,
The tragedy.
Hey, it is what it is, man. Malik's hurt. You can't fault somebody for being hurt. You can't knock them while they down, man. Let the man heal up. It's just spring ball. Let him heal up.
No, I think I do have a question about that though, because we were talking about that. What is the injury?
Supposed to
Right?
be his ankle, if I'm not mistaken, but it's something that he's been dealing with all through high school, and it wasn't just his senior year; it was
That sucks.
senior year, junior year as well, too, man. So, hey, I just hope it comes out for the best for him because he's a hell of a talent. You know, you would hate to see something get wasted like that due to a injury.
And you know, it's interesting. Sark being just at Bama just a few years ago, Bama's real famous for doing those stitch job procedures,
Mhm.
right? Like, I mean, I'm not saying they're the ones that originated it. I know that the surgery I think started in Birmingham, but I
Yeah.
don't know that Alabama is the university that first turned to it. But
Mhm.
it's just interesting that that they haven't turned to that to fix it. Obviously, if they haven't, that means that wouldn't fix the issue, which would then point to something like you said, much more serious, much more long term.
Yeah,
And so that's just, you always hate to hear that,
that's
especially with
alarming,
someone
man.
that talented. Yeah.
No, man. I had so many high hopes for that dude, man. He's just such a freak of nature when it comes to his talent wise. And once you see him on the field, last year I'm at the game watching Texas beat the shit out of OU, 49-0 last year. And so I'm sitting at the stadium and I'm seeing Charles Wright and I'm seeing, AKA Mullet Boy, who Chris likes to call Mullet Boy, but seeing our boy Quinn Ewers, and then seeing Quinn, Murphy, and Murphy's just in between these guys. He's such a big kid. I mean, he's
You
huge.
can't miss him.
He's huge, man. 6'5" with the locks coming down, man. He's a big kid, man. So hopefully he just stays healthy, man, and balls out.
No, and I hope he stays healthy. I mean, I hope he gets healthy, and I hope that he can find a home that is suitable for his talent. He can do
Whatever.
exactly what he needs to do.
He's at Texas, deep in the heart of Texas is where he's going to be. That's where his talent's going to be at, man. Leave that man alone. Leave that
Hey,
man
you
alone.
never know with this transfer portal.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But that's why it's important to take two quarterbacks every cycle, unless you have, a Jackson Arnold or a Quinn Ewers, an Arch Manning, a Nico, right? So that's why it's always important to take two quarters each cycle. And even Texas took to that cycle when they took Quinn. They got Quinn, and then they also got Malik. So
Yeah.
So you got to take two each cycle because you just never know what's going to happen. And I saw a stat not too long ago that out of all of the blue chip quarterbacks that actually come into college football, it's like 40% end up transferring anyway, right? So it just happens. It just happens, right? So
That's
Yeah.
wild.
I mean, that's something that you're gonna have to look out for with a guy like Michael Hawkins. He's coming in. I don't think that he's scared of competition with Jackson Arnold being there, but um, Kyle McCord. There's a number of quarterbacks that you can point to where they're going to these loaded teams. Alabama, you guys have taken just about everybody out of the damn
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
top quarterbacks. So you have to go there with, kind of knowing option A is I ball out and I get the starting job, or B, I transfer.
yeah,
Or
exactly.
C, I ball out, get the job, lose the job, and then I transfer. So, I mean, you kind of know it's really no gray in between. It's just black and white pretty much on that one. So,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, folks, let's talk about some surprise teams for this upcoming year, man. Um, I'm not gonna say a surprise team. I think Ole Miss. This is my opinion. They lost a lot of talent, but I think Ole Miss has the potential to ruffle some feathers, and I think this might be the year that I think they're good for a good 10-win season, 11-win season once every 4 or 5 years. And I got a feeling that with all the quarterback talent that they got coming in there, something's going to shake up. It should push Spencer a little harder than he's ever been pushed before. I'm not saying he's going to be well, but you got him on the roster. You got Jackson Dart on the roster. You got the dude from LSU on the roster. But I think with them losing so many pieces, I think they got some pieces that are coming in under the radar, and I think that Lane might actually have a damn good season this year.
It's not about Lane for me. It's about Golding. Can Golding come in there? He doesn't have to be amazing or anything like that, but will his scheme or the way his style of play on the defensive side of the ball, will it translate to what they're trying to do? We all know Lane Kiffin is a lot of people probably gonna get pissed when I say this. Lane Kiffin is a poor man's version of Lincoln Riley. I said it. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk. All right. I think Pete Golding it's a home run for Ole Miss, but it's a grand slam for Pete Golding because now he leaves the pressure of national championship implications expectations, every year to a place where it's like, man, we're trying to get there. We want to be the cream of the crop, but we're trying. Can you come in there and get us and help us win those battles in the trenches as far as these recruiting battles? And can you scheme something up? Will your scheme actually help us or will it hurt us? Ole Miss's defense hasn't always been the problem, in my opinion. Now, Ty may disagree with me. He may say the numbers show that they are, but I would say that, it's just they run out of gas an awful lot. They start off hot and then fizzle out towards the end of the game. You'll watch them in the first quarter and a half, and you'll say, "Damn, they look like a really well-oiled machine." You'll turn off the game. They're up by 10 points. Come back. Now they're in a battle trying to win the game in the last 3 minutes, and you're just like, "What the hell happened?" You look like you guys were taking control.
Yeah, I do have to disagree a bit about the defense because even with Hugh Freeze, right, like the offense has been good. And maybe like if we go back, but if we look at like Hugh Freeze on, the defense for them has never been great, and even now, here's my biggest question about Ole Miss, guys. And you talked about the quarterback situation. I almost look at the quarterback situation and I feel the exact opposite. I see worry. Right? Like, I think that if you weren't worried, you wouldn't be bringing in Walker Howard. You wouldn't be bringing in Spencer Sanders because you just brought in Jackson Dart and he didn't have the season he wanted. Walker Howard didn't beat out Garrett Nussmeier, nor did he beat out Jaden Daniels. And Spencer Sanders, now he's transferring to go compete for a job. So that's not a quarterback room that, in my opinion, inspires a bunch of confidence. Now, Judkins inspires a ton of confidence. The freshman running back they just had, that kid is unbelievable. He is the real deal. And they did get some interesting pieces recruiting, right? Son Terry Perkins, 5-star linebacker, really talented player. You got Aiden Williams, very good wide receiver. Braxton Myers out of Coppell, safety. They have some interesting pieces. But that defense, that has to come together. I do love your point, though, Chris, about Pete Golding and now being somewhere where the pressure isn't there and we can really get a real good look at his scheme on a bigger stage because we haven't really gotten to see that. We've seen him at Alabama, and before that, we saw him at Texas or UTSA. Almost said Texas State. Him at UTSA. I think for Pete Golding, you're 100% right. This is a great opportunity. Ole Miss is an interesting one, though. I think that they're a team to watch, no doubt, because if the quarterback situation comes together, they do have the running back talent to really get something done. I just worry about that quarterback situation not coming together.
Yeah, I can see that too, Ty. I think my only thing is just like, for instance, this year with Texas, people gave, Quinn a bunch of hell, right? Now, granted, Jackson Dart has been in college football just a little bit longer. New system over there with Lane as well. But I think you're going to get a guy, in Spencer, who's going to come in and try to get the job. I would think he would have wanted to go to a place where he was going to be assured to have a starting job. It kind of makes sense, right? But with him going over to Ole Miss, I think he's going to have to really compete for a job. He should be hungry. And I think the knock on him is that he's so inconsistent. When he's on, right? And when he's off, he's off, right? But if he can get more consistency, then it should push that room. I think Jackson Dart has a lot of talent. It's just a matter of, can they get it out of him?
That's a great point, because that's what I was about to jump on. I think the thing basically is this right here. Nobody's sold on Dart. Mm-hmm. Do I think Dart is a really good quarterback? I do. I think he's one of the. I'd probably put him in the top 50. I mean, you can watch. There's certain.
Yeah, he's got ability.
There's certain quarters, certain things. I mean, certain games that you've seen, and you're just like, the kid has it. It's just that does he have the extra that like that? Yeah. I don't think he's on the same. Especially last year. Let's put it in the tier of quarterbacks that we had last year. He's not in that C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young category.
I don't even think he's in the KJ Jefferson category, which would go right below them.
I would say he's like a tier 2 he's a borderline tier 2, tier 3 quarterback, in my opinion.
I don't disagree. I think he has the ability to be right there with like a KJ Jefferson, but I just we haven't seen it yet.
The thing about it is my question for Lane Kiffin is what are you going to do? Spencer Sanders, given time, has shown that he can be effective, has shown that he can run, has shown that he can do things, to help you win games.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that when he gets rushed, he turns into the same thing that Jackson Dart is, which is a gunslinger, and he will throw it into triple coverage every single time. We've seen it plenty of times. So the thing about it is that this kind of reminds me of like the Clint Shelf, J.W. Walsh days for OSU, whenever you have, kind of just that thunder and lightning at quarterback, where you have one who you can run options and do different things with and have certain packages for. And then you have the other who's just really a pure passer.
Mm-hmm.
Dart can run too. Now, don't get me wrong. He's mobile. But I guess the question is for Lane is how do you use them? Are you going to have packages for both of them to be out there on the field? Or are you just going to say, I'm going to let it rip with one guy?
I have no idea. And that's the confusion I have about the situation.
And you can't run. Let's be honest. You can't run Spencer Sanders into the ground because we know that he's injury prone. So
I just don't think that's conducive to success for any one of those quarterbacks.
No,
Spencer Sanders needs a big year to try and get into the NFL. Jackson Dart needs a big year. He's already had 2 years. Right? So he needs a big year. Walker Howard, he's got time. So out of all the quarterbacks, he's got time because he could technically have redshirted last year and be good. But I don't know. I am really interested in Ole Miss.
And I'll tell you who else I'm interested in too, man, is Auburn with the new coaching staff. Very interested to see what Auburn do.
Can you kick him out?
Ty, I didn't do that on purpose, man. I didn't do that on purpose.
I see how it is.
I didn't do that on purpose. Yeah, but Auburn's going to be very interesting.
If there's a way where both Texas and OU can lose the Red River rivalry, I'll be a happy, happy man.
Having the coaching staff, also Cadillac Williams still staying on staff. Oh man, he's a great addition for that team. I mean, I thought he did pretty good just to be like the interim coach out there, man. Just having to actually take over that team, especially at the Brown Horse and getting the can right. But having him on there, being able to recruit because he is Mr. Auburn, behind other greats, Cam Newton, but he's just one of those guys, man, that he's going to electrify that fan base. The fans love him. I was just down in Florida this weekend, and one of the guys that actually works for me, he's a big Auburn fan, and he said that he went to the basketball game and he saw Cadillac there, and he said the crowd went crazy when they panned the camera on him. And so it's just he has that like that coaching star, like star just actual, ability there. And plus he is an alum that has done great things there as well. So I think that can kind of, energize the team there as well. And with a brand new coaching staff, they should be I wouldn't say a great team this year, but somebody sneaky to probably win, like 7, maybe 8 games.
I'll say this right here. I'm a believer of Robbie Ashford. I think he can go out there and get it done. I really do. I think that Hugh Freeze is such an anomaly, to be honest with you, because I don't know what type of Auburn team we're going to see. Are we going to see a grit and grind team, or are we going to kind of see more of a finesse kind of air raid type? I don't know. I just think Hugh Freeze is really interesting. I think offensively you'll see some things that you like. I think for Auburn this year, it's about getting on the right track. I think for them, it's kind of like OU, to be honest with you. I mean, look, I think the sky's the limit for OU this year. Again, I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I think that, hey, 8 or 9 wins, I'll take that because that means we're trending in the right direction. So I think Auburn is pretty much in the same boat as far as trying to get into that conversation. I think the interesting for me is just, can they turn the page? Can they be that team that can actually close out some of the games that they should have won these past couple of years?
Yeah.
Can they turn that page and actually win those games? And can they actually compete?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like, Auburn's been getting blown out, and there's been some things. Some of these games just haven't looked pretty. So the thing is, can you get that production out of that quarterback room and go from there? And can you get some more talent on the perimeter? I think that he's going to need at least 2 cycles to get some more players in there. Defensively, I'm not really as worried about Auburn. Yeah. Auburn has guys that can recruit guys.
Yeah, they're stout.
But offensively, you've got to get some weapons. I mean, that can be said for a lot of teams, man. You got to get some weapons on the outside. Got to get some weapons in that wide receiver room.
Well, I'll tell you what. I pray to God they trot that same defense out this year. I pray to God they trot.
How many points you guys put up on them last year?
You mean the same defense that Georgia put up 42, Arkansas put up 41, Bama put up 49,
49, yeah.
Mississippi State put up 39, Mississippi put up 40. I pray to God they roll out that defense from last year. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Hey, I tell you what, though, Ty. One thing that I do like about
I hate Jordan-Hare Stadium. It's cursed.
One thing, hey, I tell you what, Hugh Freeze is going to do some good things.
Yeah,
here.
no doubt.
Just seeing what he did at Ole Miss, all the under the table stuff that was going on there. I think we all kind of understand what's happening there. All that stuff's above table now. He can get down.
Well, not the stuff he was doing.
He can get down in there. Well, yeah. I'm talking
that's separate from NIL. The stuff he got fired for.
I'm talking about the on the field stuff that he can influence.
Yeah, but the thing that doesn't make any sense to me, guys, hear me out. Auburn attempted to launch an internal coup against Brian Harsin for rumors of what he was doing, and then they hired a guy that got booted for doing the exact same thing, and then, by the way, has multiple scandals at the place they just hired him from. Multiple scandals, all doing the same thing. So my biggest thing for Auburn isn't about the coaching. You're right. Hugh Freeze is a great coach when it comes to football. Can Auburn not Auburn? You tried to launch a coup against a guy for rumors of an affair, and then you hired a guy that got fired from Ole Miss for moral turpitude, and then he goes to the new place and has multiple allegations of the same.
Yeah.
So it's just like, what do you want, Auburn? Who do you want to be?
Auburn didn't want Brian Harsin.
I get that. That's the thing.
That's how that was.
But I don't know, man. Like, do I think that Hugh Freeze can get Auburn on the right track? No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And make no mistake about it here. I'm not saying that I wouldn't think that Auburn could go out there and shock some people this year. They can. There's no doubt about that. I'm more worried about this whole thing has just been so wild and nonsensical to me. It almost parallels Texas A&M firing Kevin Sumlin, but giving Jimbo Fisher an extension for the exact same results that Kevin Sumlin gave you. Oh, by the way, not as many ranked wins, not as many road ranked wins, and not as many losses to group of 5 teams. I don't get it. I don't know.
Hold on. We got my James Strice. So this is going to be, hey, James, we all have normal day jobs as well, too. So we had to cancel last night. So we're going to try to get this Wednesdays at 7 o'clock Central, time. So, I was on the road. Jay was on the road as well. So Wednesdays at 7 is going to be the standard time here. We're just kind of going just a little bit off schedule here this week.
But no, I mean, Ty, hey, look, to piggyback off of what you're saying, I think you make complete sense with it. I mean, look, Auburn has some questions. There's a lot of teams that have some questions.
No doubt.
I think Auburn definitely has some things to fix. And I think a lot of people around that program are excited that, one, they kept Cadillac Williams.
Yeah, they should be. He's great.
And then 2, I think they're happy about the hire with a Hugh Freeze.
And I can understand that. My questions with Auburn and Hugh Freeze, it's not so much of X's and O's, it's organizational.
Yeah.
Right? Like, are you going to be able to get it right? I don't question Hugh Freeze X's and O's. I mean, we saw the battles he gave Nick Saban. The guy knows how to coach. Like, coach. Auburn will be better.
He can coach.
So long as they don't Auburn.
Well, hey, Ty, but this is the crazy thing about it. It's how bad do you want to win? All right. And so,
I mean, the answer for that is very bad for Auburn.
So are you willing to take on the baggage of a Hugh Freeze to get some wins? Almost like, Urban Meyer, right? Urban Meyer, we all know Urban Meyer. Everywhere he goes, he's going to leave some baggage, right? It happens. But there are teams that right now would go knock down his door to have him coach their college football team right now, because it's about how bad do you want to win. All right. And so I think Freeze is going to get that team on the right track. I'm with Chris on this. Give him 2 years. And I think Auburn's going to be a good 8-win team. Honestly, I think they could be an 8-win team this year. They won 5 games this year. They had a really good shot to be LSU last year. Really good shot to be LSU.
Look, I'll say this right here. It's not going to be a lot of teams that want to go to Jordan-Hare and play them there at nighttime.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to go to Jordan-Hare and play Auburn. That I'm telling you, man, like Auburn and Jordan-Hare, they will pull out wins in the grittiest. And I'm not trying to be funny. Like they genuinely at their home stadium, you want to talk about a team that plays with heart. And
that's what I'm saying. Think about when Texas went down there and messed with the Arkansas boys last year.
Don't be worried about us.
Pretty much. I'm just saying, man.
Don't be worried about us, man.
Hey, here's a team.
Nobody knows.
Here's a team that nobody's gonna think I'm gonna talk about. Okay, Vanderbilt.
Vandy.
I was pleased with what I saw from them. The fight. Let's see if that can translate into wins this year. I mean, Ty, come on, man, help me out now. Vandy was not terrible this year. Let's
Chris, they won 5 games, which is good for Vanderbilt. That's good for Vanderbilt. They won 5 games this year. Ty's like, y'all shut up with Vanderbilt.
Ty, come on now. You've seen Kansas. Kansas has been terrible, and now you changed that buzz around the locker room. Look at them.
Screw it. Let's talk about UNT while we're at it. let's while we're talking about. Let's talk about UNT while we're at it. I don't know.
All right, hey guys, here's another one. And I know Texas fans are going to hate me for saying this. OU fans are probably going to hate me for saying this too as well. If Jimbo Fisher could get his quarterback situation situated up there in Texas A&M, they have the opportunity to be a pretty damn good team. Their defense is solid. We know their defensive line, the defense starts in the trenches.
But the defense has always been solid. It's what makes no sense.
No, but this is the thing. If he can solidify that quarterback position, maybe Connor does his thing this year. Maybe he grows up. He has a go-to number 1 guy in Evan Stewart.
Nick. Yeah, I'm sorry. I gotta cut you off. Nick. It's not about any of that, Nick. It's about Jimbo.
I know.
It's about if Jimbo will go into a different room and say, "Okay, lock me in here for 10 minutes." But True don't go.
Yeah.
He's got to give the reins to Petrino and let him work.
But
He's got to let Petrino cook. He can't go into the kitchen. He got to let him cook.
Yeah, but I was shocked that he even went for Bobby Petrino. I mean, there's so many great offensive minds right now, younger, can get out there and recruit really well. Also, that go to these camps, that see these kids in settings that can, no kidding, be a force multiplier for a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I nothing against Bobby Petrino. He's done some great things in college football and in the league as well. But I was thinking Jimbo was going to try to refresh that. Right, like refresh the A&M brand a little bit, bring in somebody new that the kids are going to want to come play for. But he has all the resources. His defenses are always pretty damn stout. And if he can solidify that quarterback position, a guy who can go off script, like say, screw Jimbo's offense, we're going to do this like this, baby. Right. And so if he has somebody that can go off script a little bit, that team has the potential to do something. They got some really good wide receivers there, man. Some really good wide receivers. And then also bringing in Ruben Owens as a running back, to kind of take the place of, a Shane who's going to the draft this year. They got the potential with those stars that they got from, the last two cycles, man, to do some damage if it all gels together.
Well, there's some rumors. I don't know if y'all have heard them going around that if Weigman gets 10 completions in a row, then we're going to see a special combo point like unlocked and neck brace. Bobby Petrino is going to make an appearance with the motorcycle on the sideline. And if that happens, God forbid, the entirety of the SEC needs to watch out. Hide your kids, hide your wife. I mean, it's going to get bad. But my thing with Bobby Petrino and Jimbo Fisher, how is that going to work?
Yeah.
Right? Like the biggest thing with Jimbo, I don't think Jimbo necessarily has like a big problem coaching. I think that it can be ego.
Yeah, it is.
You're an offensive guy, and for every year but two, their defense has been better than their offense.
Yeah.
And I mean, their offense has been bad a lot. And that's your bread and butter. It would be like, it would be like Steve Sarkisian coming to Texas, and after 5 years,
the offense is
offense is bottom 3/4.
Yeah.
And the defense is top 25%. Chris, it would be like in 4 years if Brent Venables was still at Oklahoma and that offense was top 25, but that defense was it was one of the bottom defenses, and that you'd be sitting there and you're like, no, I don't care that we might be winning 6, 7, 8 games a year. Yeah. Your calling card you can't do. So at this point, something is holding you afloat. And I'm not sure what it is, but if your calling card is offense, if it's defense, how are you so consistently getting outworked by the other side of the ball?
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where it's one of the classic cases where sometimes some of the talent in the room is not that good. Let's just put it like that. Or at least they don't fit what they're trying to do.
They don't fit it.
They're putting together. It's kind of like, how should I say this? It's kind of like the Kings were for quite a while until they, until this year, obviously, and the Charlotte Hornets, greatest AAU team ever alive assembled in the league. It doesn't work. It doesn't translate. It just doesn't. You get a group of talent or whatever. I mean, I think Curtis Bolton said one thing at OU one time. He was like, that's the problem with us. For a while, we had all these 5 stars, but they didn't have that dog in them. Just 5 stars. You get to college and it's different. You got to have that dog in. You got to be able to go out there, mano, meet somebody and win that battle every time, not just sometime, every time.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I've disagreed with PG when he says that he thinks like that, Texas and Oklahoma coming into the SEC. He's like, oh, I don't think Bama and Georgia, they can take number 1 and 2 in recruiting anymore. I'm like, but PG, the thing, like, I get it. There's big brands. They attract a different type of 5-star. They attract the type of 5-star that don't care if there's 3 other 5 stars. They're there for the grind. Yeah. These are not your average. So the fact that yes,
it's the back end for them. All right. So,
it's the grind. It's a little bit different. Now, will it affect recruiting? No doubt about it. No doubt about it. The adding in 2 mega brands like Oklahoma and Texas are going to make it really hard to recruit in an already very tough landscape. But my point in that argument was like some of these 5 stars are a little bit different than others. They don't mind sitting behind 2 other 5 stars if it means they get to grind against the axe every single day. They're good with it.
Yeah,
Guys, can we real quick? Can we talk about Nick? And I know you're saying that this is a team that may surprise people. Let's talk about this right here: New Mexico versus Texas A&M. Okay, that's great. Then they go to Miami. Then they come home against Louisiana Monroe. Okay, that's great. Probably 2-1, maybe 3-0. Not really sure. I'm gonna say 2-1 on that.
you say 3-0. I don't trust Miami. I just don't.
Wildest thing in college football isn't in the SEC right now. It's actually that Josh Gaddis was hired by Loxley. If you know the background between those two, that's really wild.
But listen to me. Listen to me. Then they jump right into SEC play and Auburn at home, at Arkansas, Bama at home, then on the road against Tennessee, back home against Carolina, Ole Miss, and on the road against Ole Miss, back home against Mississippi State. Abilene Christian, and then they finish at LSU to end the season. So that being said, I mean, they could realistically, they could lose that Auburn game. They could lose the Arkansas game. They could lose. And Ty, I don't know how you feel about that, but they will give Alabama hell because it's at home, but that's the only reason why. But
look, Bama, they've got some things to figure out. Playing Texas A&M at Texas A&M, great environment. Yeah, that's a tough place to play.
But the problem is this right here is that we all know that once you get into the October and like late October and early November, those freshmen are pretty much sophomores now, and those guys that haven't well, I wouldn't say upperclassmen, but those younger guys who haven't played that many snaps. I mean, hey, they're a year advanced now, basically, because they're in the system. They're in a rhythm now. So it'll be interesting to see how those guys are churning or whatnot. But I'm interested in Texas A&M, but they got a hell of a schedule too.
Yeah, they do. But one thing that I do want to say about Jimbo that I think he has to get this fixed. Him trying to implement his offense into a Texas culture, right? With all the resources he has down there in Texas. We all know Texas is king of 7-on-7. You have all these skill positions. Utilize what these kids are used to playing, all year round. You got the best, skill position players pretty much in the country right there in your backyard. And they're used to playing 7-on-7. They're used to playing spread. They're out wide. It's not no slow pro ball. It's not pro style ball in the state of Texas. You're the football that is being implemented into the NFL right now. We're seeing it right now with Kansas City. We're seeing what the Eagles are doing with Jalen Hurts. We're seeing what, Cliff Kingsbury did with the Cardinals. We're seeing so many spread babies here in the NFL. Utilize that at Texas A&M. Utilize what these kids are used to playing. I think he can have a hell of an offense. Granted, his offensive line play hasn't been the best over the last couple of years. However, you can scheme around it if you put the right offense around those guys.
Yeah, he lost his offensive line coach, Henson.
Yeah, sure
Josh
did.
Henson, and that was big. And the crazy thing is their offensive line is just super inconsistent. They'll have one game where they're fantastic. The next game, it doesn't even look like the same offensive line.
Yeah. It's like, where's the continuity piece with that? So it's they got to get some things fixed on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm with you, Ty. It's like, you're supposed to be an offensive genius. You should have that figured out by now. Or, like you say, go hire somebody who can run the offense and just go be a CEO. Be a guy who's just a figurehead, who makes sure everybody is crisp and clean and gets everything done. Maybe help game plan a little bit, but let your offensive coordinator go do his thing. Let him understand that there's no pressure on him from you to get the job done. Let him do his thing. Let him cook.
And there is something to being a CEO, right? Not everybody can be a good CEO.
It's true. That's true. Everybody's not a Saban. Saban is one hell of a CEO.
Yeah.
Saban empowers his guys to do great things. Saban is a defensive guy. I think we all kind of know that, right? But Golden has not been the best defensive coordinator. He's let Golden do his thing. Now, he stepped in and did some things. Now, he stepped in and we seen him go in the sideline and be like, hey, bro, fix this. We've seen him with Lane Kiffin run the effing ball. I mean, we've seen him say certain things to his coordinators, but for the most part, he kind of stays out of their lane. He lets them do their thing. These guys are millionaires, right? These OCs are getting paid $1.5, $2 million a year. So he's going to let his leaders lead. But when it's time to step on their toes and make sure that the job gets done right, he's going to make sure that gets done right as well. And that's something that Jimbo, he hasn't learned it yet. He's probably not going to learn it because he's a little long in the tooth, right? Yeah, he's got to learn real quick. But honestly, it doesn't matter. He just got that extension, so he has another 5 or 6 years left on it, so he can do whatever the hell he wants to do.
Yeah. And I know we said we weren't going to stay on here for a long time. So the two other teams that I would say just honorable mentions for tonight's show, in my opinion, I think South Carolina. You're looking at South Carolina and saying, okay, Spencer Rattler, can you clean up some of the mistakes?
I like that one.
I point to the Georgia game and just say, Spencer, look, there's a difference between what you did in this Georgia game and what you did in this Tennessee game. Some people may say, oh, well, Tennessee had some locker room, some in-house issues that game or whatnot. And before that game, and it kind of, I heard about there was a split between the team because of something with Hendon, or however you say his last name, the quarterback, former quarterback. Yeah. And it was a rift, some NIL stuff. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true, but I heard there was a rift, there's a split. So I don't know. I'm just saying that to me, there's no knock on it, but some people may say something about that. But back to the point, there's a difference between what he did in the Georgia game and the Tennessee game. How he was reading the coverages, how he was distributing the ball, how he was doing this, and how he was throwing a perfect game versus a really, really sloppy game. Get what I'm saying? So I think it's kind of on him. Can he really help his team and lift them past a lot, and lift them once again? Because, it was on his back, the running game, and just some of the things that they tried to do, especially losing his offensive coordinator. You're kind of eager to see, what's life like now, but I would say this: Beamer is a really good coach down there. I really like Beamer down there in South Carolina. Yeah. Next team that I would say, Missouri. Missouri coming in there, look, what type of Theo Weiss are we going to get? Are we going to get the 5-star Theo Weiss we all thought we would see, or is it just going to be the same old, same old? Him and Luther Burden, you got some guys back there. They're one of the few teams outside of Kent State last year who actually gave Georgia a real run for their money. Oh, and Ohio State, obviously. But I think Missouri, they can build on something, but you just have to see, can they actually turn it? Can they turn the dial up? That's what you're looking. But last thing I was going to ask, and Nick, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to moderate the show.
No, go ahead. Do your thing, man.
But I think we should end the show on this right here by asking Ty a question.
Oh, yeah.
Ty, what's good, man? Like, Bama's kind of quiet, man. Like, what's good? What's the fans saying about everything over there with –
when is Bama not quiet?
I'm just saying with Kevin Steele and Tommy Rees, like, what's life like, man? Are things a little bit on fire? People excited? People kind of anxious, or what's going on?
No, look, the Tommy Rees hire. The more and more I watch of Notre Dame, the more I'm good with that hire. I think if we break down some of the Notre Dame film, their quarterback play was wild.
Oh yeah,
and I don't mean in a good way.
It's atrocious, man. Just go ahead and say it.
It was, guys, like, I mean, simple out routes were a chore.
Yeah.
To do consistently. He has some creativity. Now, I know that, like, and I'm not saying he's perfect. There's going to need to be some more consistency, but I'm excited about Rees, and especially in the transition period where we don't have an established quarterback. So we're going to have to rely on stout running back play, which we have a stable. There's not a Jahmyr Gibbs. There's not a Najee, but there's a Jace who's really, really talented. There's a Jamarian Miller who's very talented. 2 5-stars come in.
Miller's that guy. Miller's that guy.
Roydell Williams is still there. So there's enough guys to really feel comfortable in putting the offense through the running game. And then the tight end room, a name to watch out for is Amari Niblack. If this cat gets the blocking down, he is going to be a a real big problem, and I'm really excited for him. That's the one area where they did take a transfer portal addition, was tight end, because of Tommy Rees's offense, and there wasn't the experience at tight end. As far as Kevin Steele, that one is a bit more perplexing. There is no if, and, or but about it. And I've told you, Chris, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not the biggest fan of the hire. The only reason why I pause and say, okay, there's something bigger at play here. Kevin Steele was the defensive coordinator for Alabama one time before. He served as a bridge DC for Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
The writing on the wall to me feels like he is serving as a bridge DC for Pruitt. And when that gets situated, in comes Pruitt. That's the feeling. So yeah, no, it's interesting, man. There's going to be a lot needs to change. And the biggest thing to me, it's one thing trying to replace Bryce. You're not going to replace the Heisman Trophy winner, right? You're not going to replace Will Anderson. You have talent. You can mitigate the losses. The discipline cannot be as bad as it was last year. You can't average 12 penalties a game and expect to win football games without Bryce and Will.
I think that's what everybody is hopeful that Kevin Steele can do, because he's an old school, no nonsense type of guy. So you're hoping that can get fixed, and that, one thing that he can do, and well, hell, you're hoping both coordinators can do this. I know, Ty, this is something that you want to see, adjustments. You want to see actual adjustments being made, and not necessarily as we were saying early, late last year, however you want to say it, helping the quarterback, but no, like literally putting your team in better positions.
Watch the Tennessee game.
Yeah.
How many touchdowns did Hyatt score before they finally put a safety over top, and then didn't score again? And it's just like, Jesus, man, why wait until the third quarter?
I was talking to my uncle about that a few days ago, and I told him the same thing I told you guys. It was the same freaking formation to each side. They never changed anything. The only thing they changed, they had him on either he was inside or he was out. I mean, like literally, it was the same route, same play, both sides. You guys just, and it was like, I swear, like some of your players recognized it, but they were like, okay, this is what was called. So
Yeah, but I think that's what Saban's doing right now, is he's getting back to the basics, man. No. He's getting back to Saban basic ball right now. He's getting back to the basics. He's getting back to elementary learning what you're supposed to do. Let's get the other stuff out of here right now. Have fun at Ole Miss. It was good having you. We won 10 games last year. We did great, with you, but really good is not what Saban is striving for. Excellence is what Saban strives for. And to be honest, as bad as Alabama played last year, and my wife and her friends have said this was one of the worst seasons they've ever seen Alabama.
10-2.
Yeah, they were 10-2 and a point differential of 4 points in total from those two losses. But that's just the spoiled nature of Alabama fans. They just don't know how good they have it, right? I was telling my wife, I was like, look, you guys went 10-2 and you're telling me that you got a sorry team. I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me.
Every other coach would have gotten a raise.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it was the excellence in that team, the excellent players that they have too as well. But guys, looks like, hey, it's about that time. Folks, thanks for joining in, man. We got to head out. But next Wednesday, folks, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're going to be on here for the next episode here. It'll be episode 5 next week. But, folks, I'm going to throw my horns up. It is what it is. I know Chris throws his horns down. I don't know what Alabama does, Ty. They just win.
No, we just win. We just show up. We ain't got to do all that talking. We just show up.
All right, man. I'll holler at you guys.
All right, y'all.